The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. These guys can't go about like 3 seconds without saying a swear, so, listener discretion is advised. What you're telling me is that Springfield is no better than Sodom and Gomorrah.
Honestly, after this long, yeah, probably not.
God is going to smite them down and turn them all into pillars of salt.
They did. That was the movie.
Yeah, I was about to say, they put them in a dome and we're going to nuke them.
Marge, you've been turned into a pillar of salt.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. My name is JD, and I've got both of my besties here with me, Mr. Kyle.
Yo.
And Mr. Matt.
Yo.
And today we are going to be talking about panning and stocking, Gainax's very strange anime from 2010. Well, I think it came out in Japan in 2010, so that's why we're talking about, because it's the 10th anniversary. I think it came out in like 2012 for America, but yeah, we're going to be talking about that today. This is a very unique show, as I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's not like a traditionally, I guess what most people probably took away from this is its art style. Is it's definitely a more Western looking art style most of the time.
It's Japan's take on American cartoons.
Yeah,
it's a Westaboo style.
Yeah,
there you go.
Which it is always interesting to me watching Japan take on Western animation. Like you think about stuff like how TMS did bits for like Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, and just like seeing how different that was to like the American studios that were doing segments for that show, and just like how different their animation style is. But then you've been seeing in anime a lot, I feel like a lot more, probably in the last 10, 15 years of Japan really like adapting more Western aesthetics into their design sensibilities.
What's like just recently they had a huge convention that they sell like I guess dojins or whatever the fuck it's called, and it's just strictly Western shit.
Oh wow.
And it's like you never really think about that, but yeah, Japanese people love American cartoons. You never really think of it, but it is true.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I could kind of see it where it's like it's kind of like how Americans like anime, like we're a little more lax on our own cartoons because that's something we see every day, but whereas anime, that's something from another country coming in. It's something that's completely different than what we're used to seeing. I'm sure it's the same for them, where it's like this different kind of like design, different kind of dialogue, different style of writing coming over to them. So I assume it's like kind of the same.
Well, you talk to fucking weebs and stuff. They'll talk about how much they love anime because it's more mature and more mature themes and all this kind of shit. But maybe you talk to them about this and probably like the more silly aspect in that sense.
Yeah, maybe mature in a different way than what they're probably using the word mature to refer to, because the show is actually probably the most immature thing I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, I don't mean this. I mean like just anime in general. Yeah,
but
you can't compare Evangelion to fucking DuckTales.
Not even close.
Doesn't work like that.
No.
So speaking of, actually, I wanted to talk about the director for a second for the series. Hiroyuki Imaishi If I'm
Yeah.
pronouncing that right, hopefully. Yeah, so done a lot of animation work and directed and stuff, but he's got to start like before directing, doing animation work on FLCL, Neon Genesis, Full Metal Alchemist, and then he full on directed Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, the movie Pro Mary that came out last year.
Yes, yeah. So he's one of the founders of Studio Trigger, which watching Panty and Stocking and knowing that he also did Gurren Lagann makes complete sense.
Yeah, and then he's also done some work for American cartoons as well. He did the storyboard art for the opening sequence for OKKO, and then he also directed the title sequence for the second season for Black Dynamite,
Nice.
which is pretty awesome. Because when you see like the anime influence on that show, well, and in OKKO as well, like that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I bet it seems like these days, if you really want a really baller opening for your show, you just get Trigger to make it for you.
Or just like any specific sequence, because I think Trigger was responsible for doing some work in Amazing World of Gumball as well. I think
They did the mom fight scene.
I'm pretty sure that was them.
I think Trigger also did some Toy Story shit, if you can believe that.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
they
they
did,
did the dinosaur commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's always fun to see their work around and stuff that isn't their own.
Yeah, they did. They also did the intro to the most recent Shantae game, which I only bring up because it finally shipped from limited run today, so that should be coming in the next week or two.
Nice.
Finally.
So the way that the show came about being was Gurren Lagann had finished wrapping up, and I guess the staff had went on vacation, and they were talking about all the stuff that they wanted to do for their next project, and kind of just got overboard as they started trying to one up each other as it got progressively more and more wasted. And so the direction of their next show seemed to take a turn for the juvenile, because on at least Wikipedia it says that their main inspiration for how crude the show was Drawn Together, which is, when you think about things that
Kids, you remember Drawn Together?
Oh boy. Yeah, Drawn Together was, I think Drawn Together was probably the most crude, immature show I had ever seen up until I watched Panty and Stocking, actually.
So
like, they definitely one-upped it in that regard, I think. At least in most aspects. I haven't seen Drawn Together in a while, but...
Complete tangent. I watched the first season of Drawn Together with my parents.
Oh my god.
Because my dad thought it was funny.
I had to fucking sneak around and watch Drawn Together like later.
Oh no, we watched it in the living room. We had the season 1 DVD and everything.
Oh god.
Damn.
My parents were weird. But yeah, Panty and Stocking definitely seems like a show that came as a result of a long weekend bender.
Yeah.
It is such a fucking bizarre show.
Go on.
No, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, did you guys watch the dub or did you watch the subs or what?
So when I was rewatch, I think I've only ever watched the dubs. I at least watched the dubs this time. I don't remember if I watched the subs the first time when it originally came out. Yeah,
I watched the dub as well. I'm aware that there's a bit of a difference between the original Japanese and the dub.
Yeah,
they definitely leaned more into the crudeness of it with the English dub.
I feel like there's like a lot more like pop culture references thrown in to the dub. But yeah, I have heard that the dub and the sub there's some noticeable differences.
So when I first started watching this, it was I don't know if it was released weekly or something, but I had to like really fucking dig for it. But I remember 4chan Co. just oh yeah, the new episode dropped, so I would have to watch whenever it came out, and I watched just the subs on it, and I was completely fine with that. Whatever, even if they didn't even have a sub, I just wanted to like watch how everything was. But I know the dub, it's just it's obnoxious to me. I really can't get into it.
That's fair, yeah, because like I said, they definitely leaned really heavily into how crude it is with the English dub from what I've seen. I hadn't. So this was my first time actually watching Panty and Stocking. But back in the day when it was airing, like in 2010 and stuff, when I was using when I was on on 4chan, like I would see it posted because basically everyone considered it as like an honorary cartoon. So there was always threads about it on
more or
Ko.
less, yeah.
So I'd seen it like, all the time. And I mean, since then I always see it like posted around like, gift sets and stuff all the time and music from the show and stuff. But yeah, this was actually my first time really getting to experience it. So it was one hell of a watch. Yeah, there's definitely nothing else like it. It's very unique.
Yeah.
Because even besides besides how crude and immature it is, like it's the actual overall look of the show as like as an anime studio trying to emulate the look of Western cartoons and stuff. Like it's hella interesting to look at. Like it's very visually gripping. Well, and also just because you look at the body of work from Gainax, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, it fits in, but also doesn't. It's kind of like a weird, like, was it what's the term? Redheaded stepchild, black sheep.
Yeah, it's definitely the black. This was definitely. Sorry, Kyle. What were you saying?
So let's not use that term.
Oh, okay. The black sheep of the Gainax catalog, because it's very beautifully like animated and stuff. But I mean, because every other thing that was made by Gainax is more conventionally anime.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started to go into this direction with Gurren Lagann, but I would definitely say that Panning and Stocking is like the stepping stone between Gainax and Trigger.
Right. Yeah. Like you could definitely see the inklings of like what would come later.
Yeah, because like I think one of the hallmarks I think of Trigger's animation is just like everything so bouncy and very just kinetic. And you could really start to see in Panning and Stocking like them really diving into that kind of art, that animation style. And so like the story of Panty and Stocking never has really gripped me. It's like, it's fine. It's crude. Again, I'm at least for this run through, I watched the dub. So that's not really whatever kept me watching. It was mostly just like, I really like this art style because it's like a great blend between Western and Eastern styles, but also just like the way the camera movement and like it's like during the fight scenes, it's like constantly sweeping around. How the characters move, even with such simplistic design. So I was watching this show more from an aesthetic point of view rather than a story point of view.
Sure. Yeah, because I mean, if you're looking at the fucking story of it, it's like the premise of it's very simple. It's just like, two angels get kicked out of heaven because they're fighting or they're fucking too much and they're eating too much, and they're kind of their caretakers got to direct them to kill ghosts to get coins to save up to go back to heaven. That's pretty much the premise of the show.
Yeah. It's funny, there's like 3 different art books for this show, but
oh, wow.
I've only owned one, and yeah, seeing all the designs and shit is really great.
Yeah, and besides like the overall just like aesthetic of the show kind of aping on Western stuff, like they definitely do make like references here and there. And then like JD you said, like for at least the dub, they definitely throw in a lot more.
Yeah, there's a lot of like American, like I feel like American specific references thrown in.
There's like a Ren and Stimpy ghost from what I remember, like just straight up Ren and Stimpy.
Well, I mean, one of the characters is I feel like is directly based on Gur from Invader Zim.
Yeah, Chuck.
Chuck is just Gur.
But then even then, so Chuck looks almost exactly like Gur, but then Fastener, who's the Scanny and Knee Socks' pet, like it doesn't look like there's an episode of Invader Zim called Attack the Horrible New Girl.
Yeah, it looks like Tax Cat a little bit, at least in the way that it moves.
Yeah, so it's clearly meant to be Mimi analog, but it doesn't look quite there. But it's you can tell that that's what they're trying to go for.
Have you guys seen Jonan acknowledge that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, yeah, Jonan knows that Penny and Stocking exists, and his acknowledgement's like, "Oh, it's great to see Gur still working. Like he's still at work."
That's funny.
Jonan's got a great sense of humor. I love his Twitter.
Yeah.
He hates and loves everything.
Yeah. Um. Yes, and then even just beyond the show itself, I really got to make a we're gonna make note of the music because the music is super good.
Yeah, I definitely want to give a lot of props to the soundtrack for this show. It is like it's like rock, techno, a lot of different kind of genres, and it like blends really well together. And I can honestly say this is like the one anime that like I could recognize music from almost instantly. I like had most of this album on my iPod back in the day. Um, no, the music in this is great.
Do you guys have favorite tracks?
Yes, I've only listened to them because I've listened to the soundtrack just going through the show the one time. And I have downloaded the soundtrack since then to Apple Music, but I've mostly been doing replays of Fly Away, which is the magical girl transformation music, and then
Mhm.
Fallen Angel, which is the end credits theme. Like those two are just like super good. I'm not
Um,
really like I'm not that huge on the actual opening title theme. Like I
No.
think yeah, in comparison to the rest of the soundtrack, I think it's a little weak, but I think most people consider like Fly Away to be the real like theme for Panty and Stocking.
yeah, more or less. I really think that Scanny and Knee Socks' theme is a banger, and I fucking love that song. I'd probably say that's my favorite on the original soundtrack.
There's one song that I like, but I don't know the title for it. They mostly use it as like the end thing when they end an episode.
Oh, but not for the credits.
I think it's just a mixture of letters. Like I don't know what the fucking song is called, but I like that one.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that whole set because I think they have two soundtrack albums. They have like the actual soundtrack for the show, and then I think the second album's like I think a remix album, or they might have some other tracks that didn't make it onto the original soundtrack.
Yeah, look, I'm looking at the thing, and it looks like it's a lot of like remix tracks.
I think it's called EPTM. That one.
Okay. Yeah, they actually
The
do
Booty Bronx remix.
They do a whole music video in Panty and Stocking for one of the songs.
They sure do.
I think it was D something, right?
D City Rock.
D City Rock, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Yeah. So I honestly feel like the soundtrack and the art style is like what drew a lot of people in and what kept them there.
Yeah, totally. Because I'm not sure. Like, I would say that. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I would assume that would be most of the reason why people would stick around. Because as far as the actual story and stuff goes, it seems to be that and that's kind of the whole thing about Panty and Stocking as characters is that Panty like has just like tons of sex, and then Stocking just eats tons of food, and that's like kind of their main deal.
Right.
And they do that very excessively in every single episode.
And they don't really stray too far from that. Panty kind of starts to towards the end where she like kind of gets with Brief.
Who's played by Kyle.
Yeah.
Played by our Ink and Paint Club's own Kyle.
Yep.
Yeah, we were talking about how the villain in Symbionic Titan had a Kyle vibe to him, but Brief definitely like
Brief is just middle school Kyle.
Well, no, because I mean, even the style of the show and the design of the character kind of looks like the art that you have for Kyle for the YouTube uploads.
Yeah, just without a beard.
Yeah.
Yep. Good shit.
But then, yeah, that was actually in regards to him and talking about like the references they have to Western culture. Like Brief goes around like I'm not sure if they actually call it like do they specifically mention Ghostbusters or do they give like a weird censored name?
I don't remember, honestly.
Like, I'm not sure if they call it a fucking proton pack. It's very clearly supposed to be a fucking proton pack from a Ghostbusters that he's got on, and it doesn't actually work on real ghosts. And it kind of looks like he's using it kind of like a metal detector. It's like just on the ground.
Yeah.
And then, so we've actually talked about them three, but we haven't talked about like the show is called Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt. Is actually we haven't touched on Garterbelt at all.
Yeah, Garterbelt's like he's just he's not their boss. He's kind of like just he gives them missions because God told him to.
Oh, he
and
cooks them food, and I mean, he owns the church. He lets them sleep there and everything.
Yeah, so he's just like this very loud black preacher man.
Which I really do love his in the dub. He's voiced by Christopher Sabat, and this is very clearly just doing like his most outrageous like
and
like,
as a joke because haha, all priests are pedophiles. Garterbelt may or may not be a pedophile.
Yeah, that may not be gay.
Very
too.
highly suggested that he is.
And
isn't it the thing that he's like super gay or what?
He's like he like is kind of shows interest in young men.
Yeah, because he was hitting on Brief like a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
so it's like very heavily implied that he likes little boys.
Oof.
Because of course he does.
His whole backstory was pretty interesting to see in that one episode, though. Like they go into like his past as like a drug dealer and how he got killed, and God made him immortal, and he had to go through like the history of the Earth or the history of the universe, and like shows him like getting mummified and trapped in a pyramid and like sinking to the bottom of the sea and like just living through history up until like the current era, which I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good that can be mined out of this show. It is weighed heavily down by a lot of immaturity.
Which I mean, if you're into that, then
yeah,
show for you.
Like it is a lot of the humor and visuals are very lowest common denominator. But if that is your deal, then by God, it is here in spades.
Yeah, totally.
By all means, please have fun. It's very nice to look at. I am in love with the art style for this. I will say it was a bit of a struggle trying to rewatch this just from like, okay, I'm used to these visuals now. Now I'm like more focused on the story and the dialogue, and like it was a little bit of a struggle getting through this time.
Was it yeah, because you'd gone so long that it was divorced from context that you forgot like how juvenile it was.
Yeah, because honestly, like when this came out, I think I was like maybe first year of college when the dub came out here. So yeah, that was like almost 10 years ago. So when it came out, I was just like, oh, I've never seen an anime like this. So I was just like wrapped up in it like that. But like I haven't watched it since. And so I've had so much time in between then. I'm able to like watch it for different reasons. And those reasons are it's a bit of a struggle nowadays, now that I'm older.
So while I was watching, I took notes on every single episode. And
oh boy.
If we just wanted to get into some of the gross ass shit that they do in this show, here's just
by all means go for it.
It's a quick little summary.
Well, the first episode involves a giant shit monster.
It's a giant shit monster whose only words are, well, at least, okay, so this is all from the dub, but so its first words are shit, fart, doo-doo.
Because, of course.
There's a ghost that is just made completely out of, or he's not made out of snot, but he's stealing people's like snot and boogers. And he turns it like a zeppelin to go explode into the sun. There's an episode where all the ghosts are like an army of sperm, and I think they explode out of Garterbelt's afro. So like, yeah, just like Garterbelt's afro exploding with cum was probably one of the worst things ever. There's the ghost that goes around eating used underwear.
Yep.
There's the ghost that's just a complete vomit monster. There's okay, well, so this one's not necessarily, they weren't ghosts, I think, initially, and it's not gross, but I did have it written down. There's the whole just episode they did that was just a big Transformers parody. And it was like it was a parody of like the Bayformers, basically like the movie Transformers and the original 80s ones.
Yeah.
Like fucking Panty and Stocking like eat their hearts, and then they become like a weird amalgam of like Panty is Optimus Prime and Stalking is Megatron.
Yeah.
And that was pretty funny. There's it's just, oh god, and there's the whole episode where Stalking falls in love with like the really gross ghost that like farts all the time.
Yeah. That was
Yeah. So that's just a brief sort of summary of like some of the gross ass shit they do, but honestly, like, it's really funny, it's really fun. So, if you're not too turned off by that sort of thing, then I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah, if you're definitely into kind of like gross out humor, this show's for you.
Well, it's like, see, stuff like that doesn't bother me, but it's like excessive swearing kind of bothers me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see. Yeah, you got like, yeah,
'cause it becomes obnoxious at that point. If it starts losing meaning when you start saying fuck like every other letter, it's really stupid to me.
Yeah. I Kyle, you might, I don't know if you said it or somebody was saying that was kind of their problem with the Harley Quinn show, where it was maybe a little too heavy on swearing.
Hey, you fucking fucks. It's like, nah.
Yeah. Fortunately, I feel like that show kind of like toned that down after a while. But yeah, it was a little excessive. And I totally get what you mean. I feel like swearing for swearing's sakes really takes the impact out of it. Like, if you're gonna swear, that's fine, but like, have a reason for it.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, definitely.
There was another Western reference that I had written down here that I totally forgot about, but there's
Gorillas.
Well, okay, so aside from that, yeah, there's the music video thing where they reference a bunch of different like artists and like album covers and stuff, which is fun. But no, actually, the one I'm referring to is there's an episode that's it's that same episode actually, but it's the one where it's like 3 different episodes like in one. So it's the one where it's the episode that just focuses around Chuck and Fastener, and it's kind of like a Tom and Jerry episode. There's a bit there where the Chuck gets microwaved, and then like a little later on, he like reassembles his body like Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen, which I thought was a pretty funny reference. It's just there's tons of funny little moments here and there. Yeah, and so that's the other thing too, is that with the style the way it is, it's every frame is just so visually dense with like little jokes here and there. Like there's always shit like happening like off in the background and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you can go back and rewatch. You probably go back and rewatch a show and just pay attention to the stuff happening in the background, and like to get a whole another sense of entertainment just from doing that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like little background details that you can like catch on multiple viewings. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I would be hesitant to recommend this show to like people that I know in my normal life.
Normies.
Normies. But I feel like to the internet at large, if you are a fan of like really good animation, interesting animation, and you could stand some kind of more lowbrow, kind of gross humor, I definitely would like recommend watching this show at least once, because I do feel like in the grand scope of anime, I feel it is an important show, just because it is so different, and because of like what spawned out from it years later. I would, if you haven't watched Panty and Saki, I feel like you should at least watch it once.
Yeah, definitely at least once for sure. And shit, I didn't even like mention any of the because they do change styles a lot in the show too. Like not every single time they do like the magical girl transformation sequence, but they actually switch to a more conventional anime style. Like they look like properly proportioned and everything when they're doing
and it's really interesting. There's a GIF out there that I love to just like freeze frame. That there's a part of the show where it goes from their regular like really cartoony style and like morphs into their more traditional anime style.
Yeah,
and it just goes back, and the GIF just goes back and forth between that. So it's interesting to like pause the GIF at certain intervals to like see the transition between those two styles.
My favorite application of that GIF actually is people usually pair it up with. There's a scene, and I guess this happens a lot in One Punch Man. They do that a lot too because Saitama, the main character, is it's done like in a simple style for the most part all the time. But then like when it starts getting serious, it goes into like a more conventional anime look. And so they pair the image of Panty and Stocking doing that, and then Saitama doing it, and it's usually captioned with like the most epic hand job ever or something like that. Like, yeah.
Oh my god.
And then there's every time they defeat a ghost, it turns into like a live action like a kaiju.
Model.
Yeah, it turns into like a live action model that they like blow up, like actually explodes like a fucking like a kaiju show, like a Power Rangers or something.
Yeah. It's like it's like a miniature, so then they have like actual explosives inside of it.
Yeah. Even Garterbelt explodes at one point, and then he fucking unexplodes. Like that's like God my
Jesus. Oh no. This show is crazy in like every sense of that word. I don't know.
It's absolutely cray.
Yeah. Was there anything else you guys want to mention before we start wrapping up here?
Nope, I think I'm good.
So yeah, one last thing. They I guess, and so this was way after because I think Trigger was formed not that long after Panty and Stocking finished up. I think Trigger was made like in 2011, 2012? Something like that, I think. And I guess Gainax
2011, yeah. So it was like a year after Panty and Stocking came out.
Yeah, so Gainax, I guess, teased some sort of new Panty and Stocking content back in like 2016.
Well, I mean, the fucking show ends on a cliffhanger where it says "See you in season 2," and there is no season 2.
Yeah, okay, actually, so we should definitely address that too, because I think a lot of people always
troll.
Yeah, so a lot of people bring that up as being like, oh shit, we're never gonna get a season 2 and see this cliffhanger resolved. I'm just like, that's not. I don't think that was really intended to be an actual cliffhanger, because that was like a post-credit scene. The actual show, the way that it ends, is like a very sort of just wrap around, just like, hey, the show's. If that was like the last episode and it didn't have that post-credit scene, I think people would have been not satisfied necessarily, because they probably want more of the show, but not necessarily because it needed to continue off of some sort of cliffhanger. That post-credit scene was created specifically to make fun of cliffhangers, like, because so much happens in that fucking like 30 seconds or 1 minute that happens. Like fucking Stocking kills Panty, Corset is alive, Garterbelt dies, and it comes back to life. Stocking's actually a demon, and then Brief has to unlock Hell's Gate with his pee-pee. Like, that's fucking. They do that all like within a minute. Like,
he's got to collect all the pieces of Panty.
Yeah, like it's a trail. And it's
like I'll admit I was in that camp who was like kind of annoyed initially where they teased a season 2 like that, and like it never came. So I was kind of like, Jesus, come on, Gainax, get on it. And then like over time, I'm like, okay, it was like most likely just a big joke, and
it was just a big fucking troll. I mean, you look at the content of the rest of the show. There's
I mean, like nowadays, like I can totally get the humor out of it.
Like, I would definitely, if they made more Panty and Stocking, I would definitely watch it, though, just because of how great this just one season of the show is, but not necessarily just to continue off of that, the fucking fake cliffhanger they made.
So honestly, I kind of don't want any more Panty and Stocking. Not so much that like I think like Trigger couldn't do it. I just feel like it's so after the fact where it's like, why do it?
Yeah, and I don't even think Trigger really could, because I'm pretty sure that's just owned by Gainax.
I think it would be fucking hilarious if they did it again and then just never addressed that fucking cliffhanger.
Oh, they probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think that would be hilarious.
Right, okay, actually, and then there was one more thing I want to point out. I wasn't sure if you remembered this at all, Kyle, just because I know you didn't get through watching the whole show again, but there's I have a feeling about this episode. I feel like they might have added it way after the rest of the show. there's an episode that's just kind of like a fan servicey episode. It's like basically like, they go to the beach. It's a volleyball episode.
The beach episode.
Yeah. That fucking episode looks unlike the rest of the show. Like they really lean heavily on the I guess tweens, but like the way that it's animated and the way that characters move and the mouth animations and stuff, like it looks just totally out of place with the rest of the show. Like it's just really bizarre. If you go back and like watch it, like you might notice it now. Just like because this was my first time watching the show at all, and it definitely it stood out like a sore thumb. Not to say that it wasn't an enjoyable episode. It was just very, very blatant.
It was a yikes moment. You're like,
this is a big oof moment.
There you go.
Nah, it was completely fine, but I just had a feeling that they added that way later on. They probably thought, oh, we might. And that's the weird thing is because half of the show is already focusing around like how much of like a nymphomaniac Panty is. So you think like, oh, we need more fan service. We got to add in like a fan service episode, like a volleyball episode. And then they did it, like, later on and added it into like the mid-season or something. It's totally weird. I'm not sure if that was actual context for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
What's weird is there's a lot of fucking merch and we didn't see any of it, like at all.
Well, probably because they never like actually aired this show on television over here, right? It was just like DVD.
I think it actually came on Adult Swim, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been heavily censored, but yeah.
I would have to check on that because I would find that hard to believe.
They'd have to show that like 1 a.m. when you can kind of get away with some more.
I swear, man.
Huge. I don't think it was on Adult Swim. I'm pretty sure it was just like online and DVDs.
Yeah.
I swear it came on Adult Swim, but that might have been around where the DVD was coming out.
Maybe.
That was a big deal when the DVD came out. They were giving out like the heaven tokens and shit like that with it.
Oh, right. Nice.
Okay, so this is saying it was on Crunchyroll when it came out originally.
Okay, so it's probably just stuck on streaming then. I mean, honestly, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, even if you censor the language, like you would have to censor so much of the actual.
Yeah, it'd be real difficult to get that on TV.
Yeah, and I think like even being viewed in a censored take on it wouldn't be nearly as entertaining.
Yeah.
So probably just why would anyone even bother?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, if you want to check out this show, where I watched it on the Funimation app, so it's on there as of recording right now. Anyways, so that's one avenue that you can watch it on. I'm sure there's other places you can go to watch it, but that's the most legal one that I know of.
Yeah,
just pirate shit.
Kyle does not speak for this show. Yeah.
Just stop giving corporations your money.
Yeah, stop funding the arts.
Yeah.
Hey man, I give $1.99 to Shonen Jump every month, and I hardly ever use that app.
There's always some sucker that'll pay for it for you, so don't worry about it.
That's what we do. That's why Kyle borrows our Netflix.
Yeah.
And my dad and my sister-in-law borrow our Hulu. So.
Do you have the username set to like leech or a parasite?
I don't. Kyle's name on our Netflix is like Dingus McFargus or something, whatever the fuck he wrote on it.
Yeah, it's a traditional Scottish name, Dingus McFargus.
It's beautiful. I delight on it anytime we open Netflix.
And I have the big mouth character as the icon.
You sure have to.
You gotta have that there.
Between my Captain Underpants icon and Melanie's generic icon.
Yeah.
Good lord.
It's a good time by all. Well, there you go, guys. There are our thoughts on Panty and Stocking. Please let us know what you thought about this episode or just the show in general. If you had any favorite moments of Panty and Stocking, how you're feeling on that. You can do so on our Facebook page, our Twitter page, on our YouTube page, on our Discord. All the links for that will be in our show notes. And if you'd like to take us on the go, we are available on pretty much every streaming service. So yeah, I think that about does it. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you everyone out there for listening. Just want everyone to stay safe in these uncertain times, but we'll see you again next week with another episode.
See you then.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the show. Join our Discord to chat with us. Links are in the description. We'll see you next time.